Hi, welcome to Karen's Cave. I'm Karen, your memory keeping consultant. Today what I'd like to do is walk you through the basics of one of my all-time favorite tools, Creative Memories Border Maker System. Why do I love this so much? It is a system, a tool that makes somebody who's not creative look like they really are. And yet if you're really creative, you can go gangbusters and do so much more with it. It's a very easy to use, easy to pick up, simple, straightforward system. Your pages can be whimsical, they can be elegant. It all depends on the cartridges that you choose. I use it predominantly for scrapbooks, so I'm going to be showing you a scrapbook. But if you are a paper crafter, this is also something that's very nice for cards and some of the beautiful things that you make with any kind of paper product. Great way to use up some of your scraps. I think you'll see what I mean. So why don't we go to my table and let me show you how this works. So your favorite person in the brown truck just dropped off your brand new Border Maker system. What'd you get? In your box you're going to find these 4 components. There's going to be a written set of instructions. Once you do 2 or 3 borders, I don't think you're going to need them. It's going to become second nature. It is really a very simple system to pick up and use. In fact, it's going to take me longer to demonstrate it to you than it is going to be to actually use it. You're also going to get the Border Maker guide and ruler, the Border Maker housing unit, and a Border Maker cartridge. Each box comes with the picket fence. This is where the magic happens. This is where your decoration is going to come from. You need these 2 pieces to make your border, but this is your decoration. They're also on the website. When you go to place the order, you're going to be asked what you want to choose for your second free Border Maker cartridge. Right now there's 3 choices, sometimes there's more. This is the Jammies chain border. This is the one I chose. This is still currently available. I thought that was really, really cute. I've got my own baby pages to make. See, they look kind of like onesies. My customers, a lot of them are working on baby pages, whether it's their own babies or their even adult children. They're going back and working on their baby pages. It's never too late to start. And then I've got grandmas that are working on pages of their young grandchildren. But I wanted to show you something. You don't have to use a whole 12-inch border. You can always take a pair of scissors and cut off maybe 3 pieces and just have a little pop of color, a little decoration. Right now they look like little onesies, but if you cut off the bottom, these can look like little t-shirts. So it might be like a little boys page or like a team page. You could have the colors of a team. It just depends on the paper and the colors that you choose. So that's an aside, but I wanted to show you that that's another versatile thing that you can do. And as a side note, your Border Maker system comes with the 2 cartridges. If you were to purchase 2 cartridges, you would spend more than if you bought the whole system. So this really is a very sweet deal. How does it work? Let me put this aside. You've got your guide and ruler, and there is literally a ruler on it. This also has 2-inch marks here. I have been using this system for anywhere from 12 to 14 years, however long this has been around. I have never used this ruler. There are very, very creative people who are coming up with wonderful ideas. I learn from them and I turn around and I teach you. They do a lot of very exacting measurements on some of the things that they come up with. So this may very well come into play down the road. I want to point it out. You may or may not need it. It's there. You have a tray that pops up. This is how we're going to get your paper on here nice and straight, not crooked. There are 2 magnetic strips. This is what's going to hold your paper in place. Underneath you'll see there's these little openings. Your Border Maker cartridge has knobs on the end. You've got a deeper one and a shallower one, and they fit perfectly inside there, just like that. So when you're working on getting everything lined up, there are knobs here. They correspond with the line right there. So if you're a visual person and you want to know that you've got it exactly in place, you can see that visually. I did not know those knobs existed until 2 weeks ago. For me, I just never noticed. For me, I feel when they fit. And you can tell when they don't. You can see that that's crooked. So whatever works for you. This is the housing unit, Nothing much to tell you about it other than your cartridge pops in there. You should hear a snap. There's a release button on the back. I like to let gravity do its work, so I hold it this way and just let it drop into my hand. You do a border, you get your cartridge out of there, you put in a new cartridge, you move on to a new one. Very, very simple and easy. You're not going to be able to put it in backwards. It just doesn't fit. So if it helps you visually, there's a logo here and a logo here, and you can see they go together. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the steps of making a border using our first border maker cartridge. So that pops up. Your paper fits in there nice and snug. Put that down. Get your little tray out of the way because it'll be in the way if you leave it. This is not going anywhere. The magnets are pretty strong. They hold it nice and securely. You need at least 3 inches of paper for this to work. If you had any less, it's just not going to hold. You've got to have something underneath that magnet. But you can see I have a fairly narrow piece of paper because I keep cutting off of this one. So I am doing a 12-inch border. You don't have to have a full 12-inch piece of paper because like I did with this, you can have just part of a border. There's a space right here. That's where your paper goes in between. And see, that just fit perfectly for me. I don't need the visual personally. If you're really concerned, especially when you're first starting, you know, you're feeling a little insecure, you visually can see that those two knob and line up. And it's just a punch. So I go to the next one. I can feel that it's in there. If I'm off, you can visually see that that's off. But I can also feel that that's not quite there. That went into those two grooves. Punch, go down to the next one, punch, and just do that all the way down the whole length of your paper. And I'm going to pull that aside, and you will have debris, obviously, because you're cutting things off. So I'm going to get that out of the way. But while I'm thinking about it, I want to mention, pay attention to what comes out, because this is an older border cartridge, and see how you have the little hearts that pop out? So what we might call debris, things that we would typically throw away, sometimes there's some really interesting things that pop off of there. So pay attention to the debris, for lack of a better word. So I'm going to pull that out and put that aside. So I have a 12-inch picket fence. I can take a narrow sticker or a narrow piece of paper and I can weave that in and out if I want to. I can cut my paper off here and make it a picket fence, or I can leave it attached if I want. And if I had a full 12-inch piece of paper, you know, it'd be about, I don't know, out here. So I can cut it off with my 12-inch trimmer. I can leave it as is if I want. I can take a contrasting piece of paper and have that show through underneath. If I go the other direction, now I have a zigzag. And a note on that, and I'm going to show you in my pages how I did some of that, where you have paper underneath another piece of paper. I don't need this full length. For one, it's a waste of paper. For two, you're bulking up your album pages. And I just really need enough paper that I can adhere it to the back of the other piece of paper. So I'll show you what I mean in my album. But it's very versatile. There's so much that you can do with that. So you might notice this is attached to the paper. Nothing came off except these little bitty pieces and that zigzaggy edge. This would be called a decorative edge. There's 3 different kinds of cartridges. And this may be a little premature. You may not need to know this, but down the road when we start to do some more decorative stuff with it, sometimes that's going to come into play. The other two, like the jammies, this is a chain border cartridge. So what that means is everything off of both sides fell off. And it will say chain in the name of the cartridge. So that's not going to be any surprise. The third one is called an inset layer, or we'll call it that for lack of a, I don't know that there's an official name, but I'll call it that. This, you have the paper still attached to the edge, the paper still attached to the inside, but it cuts out something on the inside. So again, with a contrasting piece of paper, or whatever the color behind, you might use black pages. You might, well, obviously that's a black piece of paper. Let's say you had a different color and you're using black pages or natural or Spargo. Whatever you choose, that's going to pop through unless you put a piece of paper behind it. So those are the three styles of Border Maker cartridges. Another one that I want to point out, this Flourish Vine Border Maker cartridge, really I think is one of my favorites ever. I really think everybody needs this one. It's so beautiful. That is currently sold out. When Creative Memories puts out a Border Maker cartridge, it's usually around from anywhere from 2 to 6 months. Something that's super duper popular, sometimes you're going to see them reorder and bring more back. This is an example of one that they're bringing back. It's going to be back in September. On the one hand, I don't want you to stress out about seeing a cartridge that you absolutely love and you miss out on it, because every month we have new cartridges. You're always going to have another beautiful cartridge that comes out. On the other hand, if you feel like, wow, I really have to have that one, and you see that it's going to come back, what you need to do, and this is a tip for you, go onto the Creative Memories website. If you're one of my customers, go to my website, log in, because you need your email address attached to it. Go to the product. When you see the product picture on the left side, at the top you're going to see the price, the name, the SKU. Underneath that is a line. You click on that. It's a link that says something to the effect, contact me when this comes back. And what they will do is they will email you when it comes back. And so you know, boom, I'm going to order that before it's gone. So that's your tip for the day on that. Okay, so what I would suggest, if you're new to the Border Maker system, you don't have one, go purchase one. I would love it if you'd purchase from me, but if you have a consultant already, go to their website. My website's in the description at the bottom of this video, and place an order for your Border Maker system. Play with it. Get your feet wet. Get used to it. You're going to pretty quickly figure out what your taste is, what kinds of cartridges you might use. If you're going to be working on Christmas pages, you want to grab something that's more in line with Christmas. Baby, we've got things like this one right now. Whatever the theme is you're working on, you're also going to know what your taste is. I don't like every Border Maker system cartridge that comes out. You aren't either. There's going to be what you're drawn to, what attracts you, and there's others that, I can live without it. So play around, get used to it. Please feel free to ask me any questions. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you one of my albums, and I'm going to walk you through how I made my pages. So now that you know how this system works, hopefully you're going to see that those pages came together very quickly and easily. I almost exclusively use the Border Maker system for this particular album, and you're going to see how it dressed up the pages without a lot of work. I'm very much into let's bring the colors out in the photos, let's enhance the photos, but photos should be the main thing on my page. After all, that's why I'm putting together the albums, is to showcase my pictures, write down my memories, and save them for posterity. So let me give you a little bit of a background on this book, because it's a little unique compared to most of my books. Most of my books, you're going to see a lot of 4x6 photos. There might be a 5x7, 8x10 now and again, but I generally do a lot of journaling. I'm known for that. It's funny, when I first started, I could barely write a sentence. I just had no confidence, and now I write so much. It's amazing. But I like to have the journaling in here because I want to remember the stories behind the photographs. I want to remember the experience if it was an occasion. In this particular book, this was from our wedding, and Larry and I are both into genealogy. We both like photography, and obviously I have this business that has everything to do with photography and memories. So my florist was trying to figure out what to do for our table settings. And she came up with the idea of us having 8x10 photos, one on every single table. We would do half from Larry's side of the family, half from my side of the family. But she suggested getting pictures of our ancestors and putting those in the frames. And I have Forever Artisan. It's a program that I put on my PC that I can make my digital books out of. But it also allows me to put writing directly on the photograph, and that's what I did. Is I put a little In each one of them, I have how they're related to me or how they're related to Larry, and a little blurb about them, wherever there was space. Because my thought was, it's just a picture to somebody who doesn't know who the person is. So I want to say a little bit of something about them, and it makes it a little bit more of a conversation piece. And then the florist put some flowers on both the front and the back of this frame. And it was very popular. People thought it was a great idea. So that's what this book is. Because I came home from the wedding and I thought, what do I do with all these 8x10s? I don't want to throw them away. I didn't want to just stick it in a file somewhere. So I thought, I'm going to put it in a book. You might notice that this has a color to it. The page itself has a color to it. These are old pages. This goes back to the original Creative Memories company. They're called Gold Dust. They were a limited edition pack of pages. I just thought they were so pretty. The equivalent today, I would say, would be Spargo. So this, on the inside cover of most of your books, unless you have really, really old books, it was white originally, but for many, many years, the inside cover of your Creative Memories album is going to be Spargo paper. So you can get a really good idea of what Spargo looks like. It's not stark white, but then there's natural pages, which happens to look a little bit more like sand at the beach, and there's black pages. So Spargo is just kind of in between natural and white. I like it either way. The Gold Dust gave me the same thing where I could put white on it and it kind of pops off the page. What I did is I chose 3 colors, and that went through the entire book. So it's got a nice cohesive look. You'll notice there's burgundy and purple in my flowers here. So I've got burgundy, purple, and then this is a kind of creamy white shimmer paper. Creative Memories has shimmer paper that I offer them by the sheet at my workshops. They also can be purchased in packs of 10 from the website. I know the sheen does not show through here on video. In person, you can see the shine. It's really, really pretty. So I backed these 2 photos with a mat using that cream paper. And then I have the complementary purple and burgundy. By the way, because I have some living people in my photographs and their personal information, I'm covering up anybody who's living with their personal information for the purposes of making this video. So that's why this is here. But I've got a vertical picture and a horizontal picture, but I did the border on the sides the same way, and it just gets the picture just kind of pops off the page a little bit. I did about a 4-inch border here and used the Border Maker cartridge on the edges on either side. The 12-inch trimmer has various blades you can purchase. This one is the scallop. Almost exclusively what's in here is a Border Maker cartridge, but I did use the 12-inch trimmer, and I have some old punches that I used. This is the Border Maker cartridge I used on these pages. Again, don't get caught up in the fact that this is an old cartridge. It's no longer available. A year from now, even if I'm showing you something that's currently available, it won't be available then. So no matter when I do this video, something is going to be sold out. So just remember, every month we get new ones, and there's going to be another one that's beautiful. I'm very partial to scallops and hearts, so I tend to jump on those whenever they come in. Another thing I want to point out to you, I have a white one as well, but you notice all of these have different colors. I've been with the original Creative Memories. Theirs was blue. The new Creative Memories, theirs is black. And I was with Our Memories for Life in between. The white one, I believe, is also Our Memories for Life. That one's kind of a green color plus the white one. And all 3 companies are using the same manufacturer. So if you have an old Border Maker cartridge system, a Border Maker system, not cartridge, but if you have an old Border Maker system and you see new cartridges in the catalog or online, don't worry. It will fit. It will work. So I wanted to point that out as well. So here's another set of pages that have living people in them. So again, I have one going horizontal, one going vertical. That all had to depend on the photos that I was working with. Again, I'm using a wider border. This is maybe 3 to 4 inches. I'm layering all 3 colors. Get a little bit of a glare there. I did it on both sides. Here I've flipped the colors. So this one's purple, this one's burgundy. This one's wider than this one. Just a little bit different. I have just enough paper from these 2 to be tucked behind this one. So the burgundy comes through behind this one comes through behind this one. You don't have to have all three pieces of paper because I'm working with cardstock here. It would be very, very heavy. But it's just very cohesive. The two pages go together really, really well. This is the cartridge that I used. It's got a scallop and it just looks like somebody did some stitching on it. So the last two sets of pages that I showed you have the decorative edge. So that's where the piece of paper is still attached when you're done with the cartridge. This particular one is one of the chain cartridges. This is another older one. These two are current, and either of these would have been really nice too. This is the lamplighter border. That's the double-sided scallop. It's not the name, but it's something to that effect. Mirror scallop border. I think that's the name of this one. But this is the one that I used. And it is a chain in that it pops out that border on either side. And I took the 12-inch trimmer and just had a very straight, narrow burgundy color behind it. And then I did the scallop blade on the 12-inch trimmer to have a scallop look here on the edge with the purple. Very simple, very easy. And then of course I've got my old punches here that I used for that. So this is the page with our parents. 3 out of 4 parents are still living. Their personal detail is in here, so again, I'm covering it up. But I want you to notice something. Even though some of the other pages I had a horizontal and a vertical together, this time, the other ones I did uniform, whether it was all horizontal or all vertical. You don't have to do them that way where it's both the same side or horizontal. Here I've got a vertical one, I've got a horizontal one, but visually and especially with the colors, it just brings the pages together. I took maybe a 2.5 to 3 inch wide piece of paper here to put it behind this picture. Same thing here, but with the purple. So here I've got the chain cartridge, the hearts on top of this one going horizontally and this one going vertically. But again, with the pages being a color, I didn't have to back this with another color, or I didn't feel a need to. It just pops off the page already. Whereas this one would have kind of blended in a little bit. I also took some squares, cut those in half with my 12-inch trimmer, and I made triangles. And I also mounted these, they're on different mattings. This has got a burgundy mat, this one's got the cream mat, but I used the decal blade on my 12-inch trimmer. These two are some of my favorite pages. These are my grandparents. This will show you a little bit better of what I was talking about with using Forever Artisan software to put the details right directly on the photographs. They're printed as photographs, but in the image I've inserted this and how they're related to me, in this case, so the others with Larry. This is the Border Maker cartridge that I use. This is an older Our Memories for Life cartridge. What I did is I took 2 pieces of paper, just offset them a little bit. They're the exact same dimension, just offset them to give kind of a shadow effect, and then a big strip down the center. When you think about it, that's not a lot of work. Just a little bit in width here and here. So again, I'm not wasting the paper in between. However, if it's easier for you just to leave the paper intact, there's no rule saying you have to cut that off. It's just my way of conserving paper. And then these are the little pieces that fell off of one of the other Border Maker cartridges. So I used those in lieu of stickers. And if you'll indulge me for just a minute, I would like to get on a soapbox. If you notice, my grandmother's in her wedding dress. My grandfather is a child. The reason being is he did not like being in photographs. He died young. I never got to meet him, which is unfortunate. I could throttle him today. I love my grandfather. Everything I've known about him, he sounded like an absolutely wonderful person, but I would love to throttle him. There are so few pictures of him. I would love to have more. My dad, he also died young. He tended to be behind the camera. He was the one who took the photos. So there's lots of photos of me, lots of photos of my mom, but not my dad. He also died young, like I said, and so there's very few pictures of him. When he was younger, his family was poor, so they didn't take a lot of photographs. So for both men, there's very, very few photographs. I find a lot of moms nowadays, they don't want to be in front of the camera. They don't like how they look. They've gained weight since they had kids. Their hair's messy. They're not wearing makeup that day, whatever. Whatever the excuse might be. And then unfortunately, if something happens to that person, Like my grandfather and my dad, there's very few photos for their kids. So moms, especially if that's who I'm talking to, get in the picture, please, for your kids, your grandkids, your great-grandkids. They don't care about how messy your hair is. They want to see your face. They love you dearly. So that's my soapbox. I'll move on from there. This is another great example of hybrid scrapbooking. These particular pictures were a little difficult to work with because they're ovals. I needed it to fit in an 8x10 frame, and I could have mounted them on paper, but it just wouldn't be as pretty. So I was able to make a background behind them and make it work. So this was all created in Artisan, my program. I printed them out as 8x10 photographs, and then the colors in the paper that I'm choosing bring out those colors as well. So it all goes very, very well together. This is the cartridge I use. This goes way back to the original Creative Memories, I'm pretty sure. This is one of the chain border maker cartridges. So it's just a chain. I took a wider piece of paper. I'm guessing it was probably about a 6-inch piece of paper. It's been a while since I've done this. Cut it in half, and by just separating it between the two pages, it has that cohesive look. It still kind of comes together. On this particular one, I used the wave blade on the 12-inch trimmer, the straight blade here, and just layered the 3 of them. So there's 3 layers of paper here and just a big chunk of paper split on that end. Again, look at how quickly and easily those pages go together. It doesn't take a lot of work. So here's a good example of an Inset cartridge. Remember I told you there's 3 different kinds of cartridges. There's the kind where the paper comes off the back. There's the chain. So this is the chain border. I use this one. And then this one is the one that I use down the side here. So it just pops out those little pieces of paper in there to give you that border. Whatever's underneath, in this case I use the creamy paper, that's what shows through. So it's a wide piece of paper, a thin piece of paper, chain across here, quick, simple, easy, and yet see how it all blends together. And lastly, these 2 pages, I'm using this Border Maker cartridge again. I've used that on previous pages that I've shown you, but it's another one where it just cuts off the edge but not a chain. And these are the hearts that I used throughout the whole book as in lieu of stickers. It just was the perfect heart to put in a lot of places. I've used all 3 pieces of paper in here. I've got the creamy border here, which is maybe about 4 or more inches wide. 2 strips of purple. I did the same thing on both sides. And the burgundy is probably about that deep because, again, I don't want to layer all those pieces of paper. But you can see how quickly and easily that would have gone together. The more that you learn how to use the system, the more you're going to recognize that these are very simple, quick, easy techniques. So I want to thank you for watching. If you have any questions, please let me know. Remember that my website is listed below this video. I also have a Facebook page listed there as well if you'd like to join that. And just as a side note, I am fairly new to YouTube, so I'm trying to grow my channel. If you like what you see, please be sure to click like and subscribe. When you do that, you're telling YouTube that you like my content, and they, in turn, will start to show my videos to more people. And right now, it is a little bit hard to find me, so that would be fantastic if more people could find me. And if you don't know this, if you click on the bell, YouTube will let you know when I posted new videos. So now that you've learned the basics of using the Border Maker system, I will make more videos to show you how to do even more with it. So be watching for those. Thank you so much for joining me today.